Hope we're all doing well. I do have the chat box up, so you can feel free to throw responses in that chat box or any questions that you may have as we proceed. Hold on, I'm trying to get the, there we go. All right, now I can see what I'm doing. You can also unmute yourself at any time. Feel free to interrupt me. I never count it as rude if you interrupt me and unmute yourself to ask a question, or feel free to, raise your hand. I do have that up and it notifies me if somebody raises their hand if you have a question or need anything. But I hope we're having a fabulous day. Remember, today is our last day of training this week. I actually leave from here. I'm a little more casual than normal. I mean, I usually look pretty casual anyways, but I'm a little bit more casual than normal today because we leave straight from here to head to the hospital for my daughter's procedure. So I'll be out tomorrow. We'll be back on Tuesday, the 26th, and that will be the farming class on Tuesday. And then we'll run Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the week after New Year's. Okay. In addition, just a little blurb, we do have a business planning clinic coming up as well on the 15th of January. So if you enjoy these trainings, you want to dive deeper into putting together an actual plan for your business, really dive into your numbers, what you need, what your stretch goal looks like, how to factor that in and figure out how many transactions that is, how to set your year up for success, and then how to translate that from your year into monthly action steps, weekly action steps, and into daily plan. You can throw a comment in the chat box there, and Abby will get you over that information to get you registered for that training. So that's where we're at for that. But let's dive into today's class. We have leverage listings for leads. We've covered in the past few days, we've covered the importance of the database, how to interact with those in your database, the importance of lead generation, and how to systematically follow up with those leads to move them from captured to connected. So today is the start of diving into some different forms of lead generation, and we're beginning with that leveraging your listings for leads. So remember, we learned yesterday that you should have 5 methods of lead generation. Okay, the first should be your database. You should always dive into that database first. The second is going to be leads from listings. So that's what we're covering today. And then the additional 3 methods you get to choose, we'll be covering some of those throughout the next 8 days after today's class. So see if I can get my thing to just move. Oh, see, it moved 2 or 3. Hold on. Let's try this again. All right. Our learning objectives today is we will be covering, as we begin covering how listings should drive your business, is we're going to talk about the importance of using that for sale sign to drive phone calls, to drive leads. We're going to talk about utilizing your listings for open house leads, even if open houses aren't one of your main lead generation methods. We're going to talk about using that listing to up your marketing game. And as always, as I already mentioned, if you have any questions, thoughts, or ideas to share with the group, please feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, throw that in the chat box. If you've got ideas of things that work for you that you want to share, feel free to do so. Okay. And if you interrupt me at any time, I don't count it as rude. So you can just unmute yourself and be like, Amy, wait, I've got a question. Totally okay. All right. So everything that you do in your business should be in an effort to acquire listings. Your business should be listing focused, and here's why that is. Okay, when you look at working with buyers versus working with a listing, your buyers are going to be more labor intensive, right? So by focusing on listings, you're going to have more time. You don't have to go jump in a car and show properties. You're more in control, right? And if you have more time, then you can set more appointments, which is going to lead to more signed deals and more closed transactions. So be listing focused. Okay. Your listings should also drive leads into your business, right? I make it a goal from every listing to generate at least 3 legit leads, like 3 people that are going to transact this year. If you effectively work your listings, they should become lead generating machines. That's what we're going to cover today. And number 3, oftentimes listings mean that you're getting double the transactions, because more often than not, your sellers are going to be buying another home. Okay, if it's local to you, you should be getting that purchase transaction. And if not local, maybe they're moving out of the state, out of the area, get that referral to another agent. Don't leave anything on the table. So make sure that you're asking the necessary questions to find out what your seller's plans are and where they're headed, and let them know that you can help connect them with a stellar agent in the area where they're moving, right? Collect that referral fee. Oftentimes that's going to be around 25%. Referral fee. So it's worth your time, energy, and effort to do that. It's even better if they're just moving locally and you can get both transactions. Okay. Answer your phone, right? Anytime you have a listing, you should make sure that you have that sign in the yard as soon as you are able. For most areas, you're going to fall under the National Association of Realtors, that clear cooperation policy, which states that if you're marketing to the public, the property needs to be in the MLS within 24 hours, which means that that sign can go in the yard one day before you hit the MLS. Okay, you can send out postcards. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. So if they land in people's mailboxes that day before you hit the MLS, you've got a little bit of lead time there, a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, if your seller doesn't want a sign in the yard, be understanding, empathize, and find out their motivation why, and then talk them into a sign. Okay, we want it in the yard for lead generation, but we need to sell it to them as it's going to help them sell their home. Let them know that the sign lets the neighbors know their home is for sale, and those neighbors may call friends and families to let them know that a house is for sale nearby, and those people may not otherwise be looking in the MLS to buy a house, right? You may be like, hey, it'd be really cool if my sister could move to town. All of a sudden the house across the street gets a sign in the front yard. You're like, oh my gosh, call my sister today. Your sister wasn't actually looking to move to the area. She wasn't actually checking the MLS, but now you've connected her with a home and she gets to be your neighbor. So having that for sale sign in the front yard is super important. Other than that, you can let them know that the sign catches those passerbys, people driving through the neighborhood, visiting friends in that area, different things like that, right? They see that for sale sign and they may decide to call on it to buy that house. So that's how we're going to sell it to our sellers. For us, we want it there again for that lead generation purpose. Okay. In addition to just putting a sign in the yard, think about your sign design, right? It should be easily viewed by a car driving by. If you have any listings right now, go drive by your listing and see how easy it is to see your sign and to see that phone number on the sign. Okay, don't forget to put for sale and your name and phone number on that sign. It's not a requirement, but the National Association of Realtor, the California Association of Realtor, the DRE, they have requirements like you have to have your license number on there. So make sure you have all those requirements in place. But bottom line is make sure your name is on it, your phone number, and make sure it says for sale. Okay. Some things that you may not have thought about when designing your sign. People these days, they're afraid of having conversations, right? People are afraid to pick up the phone and make a phone call. So you may, next to your phone number, be like call or text, right? So that people know, oh, I can text that number. That feels safer to me. And they're maybe more likely to send a text message than they would to pick up the phone to call. Or you may want to adopt like a text to code or a QR code to scan on your sign, so that people aren't afraid to reach out and contact you, right? Those text to codes, you can get a service where you get a text to code and it's like, you know, text maybe the property address, maybe it's 123 Sample Street, maybe it's text 123 to 66492, right? Like just the random phone number. And then they get the details for that property and it logs their phone number into the system, right? So now you've got record that they wanted information about that property. So there's those text to codes, or like I said, a QR code. Thank you, COVID, for making QR codes become more popular. They were created years before COVID, right? Those QR codes, but they kind of died off. Like people tried to get them off the ground and they just sunk and plummeted and it never really took off. But then COVID happened. Now we're getting, you know, contactless ordering and all these things. So now a QR code is super popular. Everybody knows what it is, super easy to do. Just so you guys know who were interested in the business planning clinic, Abby did throw the link to register for that in the chat box as well, and she'll take down your names as well. So just throwing that out there. Something else to keep in mind when it comes to your yard signs, right? Your for sale signs, is that our statistics say that if you put a sign in the yard, one of the other houses that can see that sign in the yard is going to sell their home. So use that knowledge to make sure you're connecting with those neighbors. Okay. And finally, remember that that sign is bigger than your listing. It would be really easy for you to answer the phone and just answer questions about the listing, but every call you get, you want to dive into an exploratory conversation. It's not so much about your listing, it becomes about the caller. What is that caller looking for, right? I mean, right, we hope they're going to say that, oh my gosh, I just want to buy this house. Can I come see it? And I want to put an offer in on it. But chances are they're not going to do that. Okay. So find out what they're looking for in a property so that you can become their realtor. Okay. How can you take them from that phone call and get in front of them? Get as much information as possible from them before you get off the phone. And before you get off the phone, set an appointment with them before you hang up. That appointment should either be to go see your listing, to go see another property, or the next time that you'll be touching base with them with more information. Okay. Don't underestimate the power of that sign. Every sign call is somebody looking to buy or sell a home. I promise. Otherwise, they wouldn't have picked up the phone and sign. Any questions about your sign in the yard? Does everybody understand the importance of the sign in the yard? You can give me a thumbs up, throw it in the chat box. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate your interaction. Cool. All right, let's move on to open houses. So even if one of your lead generation methods, right, one of those 3 lead generation methods that you're going to choose is not open houses, don't miss the opportunity to host an open house on your own listing at least the first weekend on the market. Okay. You should be holding the open on your listing for at least that first weekend on the market so that you can use it as a marketing opportunity. Get that listing out there on social media. Advertising the open house, share that open house with your database and invite them to come by. Remember, we talked about those events that you should be inviting people to. Invite them to an open house. Invite them to pop in and say hi and check out the house, right? Or just come by and visit you. Invite them. That gives you an opportunity. You could invite a section of your database to that. Let's see. You want to make sure you get it everywhere. You could get those sign writers that you can put on that for sale sign we just talked about that announce the open house, right, at the listing itself. So that way, if somebody's passing by or the neighbors see that the property came on the market, they all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, I can go to the open house. I don't have to track down somebody to call. Or worse yet, what normally happens is people see the sign go up in the yard and then they log into, right, Zillow probably, or realtor.com, but probably Zillow, to look at the listing and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we want to go see this. And they click on the connect to agent. Now they've connected with some agent that's not tied into you. In fact, even more, it's hard to even find your contact information on there anywhere. So put that sign on there that says, hey, open house this Saturday and Sunday and what time it is, so that they don't even have to worry about clicking on something. They can just be like, oh, cool, I can go see it on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Okay, so get those sign writers on there. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me find where I'm at. Perfect. Oh, and just like we teach for opens, right? Go door knock around the property. So we'll cover that in our open house series, but go door knock around the property. I would say to door knock on at least 40 doors, right? Remember how I said that if you stand at that sign in the yard and look around, somebody that can see that sign that's going to sell their property. We want to be building relationships with the neighbors. An open house is a good way to do that. I would say, hey, do 10 on one side, 10 on the other, and 20 across the street from the property. So get those 40 doors knocked, invite them to the open house, let them know that there might be increased traffic, right? And maybe point out that this would be a great time to handpick their new neighbors. Who do they know that may want to move to that neighborhood? The people in the neighborhood are usually your biggest advocates. So this is a good time to start building relationships with those neighbors so that when they want to sell their house, they're going to call you. I had a little door hanger that I used to door knock with that I had made. It just said, hey, we're inviting you to the open house. It had a little bit of information about us as a team. It was me and my partner. On the back side, the front side was just an invitation to the open house. And I had a blank spot on there. Right. So I ordered a whole bunch of them and I had this blank spot. I got those clear Avery labels And before my open house, I would print up those clear Avery labels with the address, the date, and the time of the open houses, slap it on there, go door knock 40 houses. If they weren't home, I hung it on their doorknob. Okay, super easy way to save some money, bulk print stuff, and then have it ready to go for every open house you decide to host. Any questions, thoughts, or ahas so far on signs or open houses for your listing? Okay, we'll talk more about how to run the open house during the open house class, but just know your goal is to make connections with everybody who walks through that door, because each of those, again, just like those sign calls, all those people that walk through the door for an open house are either looking to buy or sell a house. Okay, so you're going to generate leads through that open house. Okay, your listing, use it to become a marketing machine. Okay, if you don't have a listing, maybe have somebody else in your office if you can market their listing. Totally okay to do that, but definitely utilize it for your own listings. So first, remember that great marketing starts before the photos are taken, right? So when that listing is posted all over the internet, this listing represents you. So you want to make sure that that house is showing what you want to be presenting of yourself online. So that may mean that you need to go to the property or hire an expert stager to go to the property and make suggestions of furniture to eliminate, furniture to move, things to declutter, counters to clear off, all of those things. Your job is to help get that property sold, but it's also your business card. Okay. Usually most sellers are totally open to making changes to their home to get it ready to sell, right? When I go through a property, I always let them know, like, hey, how we live in a property isn't necessarily how we're going to get that property sold. So as I walk through your property, I'm going to make some notes of things that maybe we should change or tweak in order to make it look better and to make your home shine. My goal is to have my sellers take care of all of these items before we have pictures taken. Okay, it might mean things like, I don't know why, but there's this new thing that started happening probably 2 or 3 years ago, and people started shoving beds in the corners. I'd never seen that before, but then it became this whole thing, like there's not enough room in the new rooms or something. I don't know. So they shove beds in corners. So I say, hey, pull the bed away from the corner because it makes your room look small, right? It looks like you didn't have room to have like a nightstand on the other side of the bed. People have like 3 dressers in a room. Tell them to move some of those suckers out. You're getting ready to move. So start decluttering, start packing things up. I always let people know they can store things in their garage. They don't have to get a storage unit. But when they store them in their garage, I recommend they don't put them against the wall. That way, when the inspectors come through, they can see the wall lines. So I always say, hey, make sure that somebody who's seeing your home can walk into your garage, can walk into it, spin a circle, look around, can see everything that's important in the garage, but stack those boxes in there and keep them about a foot off the wall. Okay, so they can start decluttering. If it doesn't flow well when you're walking through like the living room and stuff, you got to like trip over couches to get to the backyard. Have them rearrange that furniture, pick a different way to have that furniture arranged so that people can flow through the house really nicely. If they have dog beds, cat trees, litter boxes, we don't want those in our photos. So make sure that they move those out for photos and for showings. Okay, on that note, please, 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 have professional photos done. That seems like a simple thing, but there's still a lot of agents that are still using their phones to take their own photos. You're not professional photographers. Hire somebody to do it. Okay, you're selling a multi-$1,000, $100,000 property. Oftentimes it's 5, 6, 7, 800,000. I'm always amazed at how many $1 million properties I'm looking at that have, you can tell people took it with their cell phones. Don't do that. Hire somebody to take the photos. Remember, as I mentioned already, like this is your online business card. The sellers that are considering selling their property down the street are looking at this property online, and it needs to be a good representation of you. Okay. In addition to the presentation and photos and how the property looks when it hits the market, that marketing blurb is also important. So if people are reading about the property, and I would recommend that you move beyond the boring description of the features of the home, right? We don't want the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,600 square foot home on a 1/4 acre lot, pool and backyard, RV parking, right? Like they can see that. They can look at the details of the listing and see that those are the details of the property. Make your blurb stand out. Describe the lifestyle. Make it fun. Create FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. What does it feel like to live in that property? Okay, you can see there's like random ones, like people take pictures of the properties with like dinosaurs in them, and those get a lot of views, right? People share that property. They're like, oh my gosh, check out this property. The pictures are so funny. Like an amazing description will get the same response. So make it fun, make it stand out. It can be a comedy. It can be like house looking for its next owner, right? Its perfect owner would be, and then like describe it. Be careful not to discriminate because you run into issues there. So just be really careful. But make it stand out, describe the lifestyle, make it fun, create that FOMO. Okay. So now that we got the staging, we got photos done, we got the description going in the right direction, we can actually start the marketing portion. So let's start by talking about postcards. Okay. So remember that we want to touch those potential sellers as much as possible. I would recommend sending postcards, and I would recommend sending no less than 3 postcards per listing. Okay. Your first postcard is going to be just listed. Your second one's probably going to be under contract. And your third one is going to be when it's closed. We're going to send those to the same. I recommend sending out about 100 postcards, and we're going to send them to the same 100 people. So they're seeing our name over and over and over again. In addition, we probably knocked on their door, probably left them something. We invited them to the open house. If we're going to do circle dialing, which we'll talk to here in a minute, you've done that as well. Okay. But please hear me on this as well. Same thing as the description with those postcards. We want to spin our story. So don't just create the typical card, right? For maybe under contract. Don't just say under contract. Share your story, right? Did you put it in contract over asking? Did you put it in the contract faster than the average house? Did you put it in the contract with a buyer with no inspection contingency? What's going to grab a future seller and want them to call you, make them want to call you, right? Share that story. Okay, so make it fun. Same thing with like the closed postcard. We're not going to say sold. We're going to share our story. Why would somebody want to call us and have us list their property? Not just because we got that one sold. Most agents can get the property sold, but why? What did we do that was amazing or spectacular? Okay. As previously mentioned, I would recommend sending 100 postcards around the listing, and you want to send it to the same people for each postcard. Okay. There are programs out there that allow you to send those postcards. It'll handpick the addresses for you. If you don't have that ability, contact your title company. They are usually able to pull that information for you. They can do like a radius pull around the property address of the 100 homes, or you could pinpoint that neighborhood or whatever it might be. Okay. Any questions so far on the presentation, marketing, or postcards?
Yes, Amy, on the postcards, do you have any particular companies that you recommend? Because that's kind of what I'm looking for right now, is just trying to find a company, that you can work, I could work with on a consistent basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, what brokerage are you with?
Realty One Group.
Realty One Group. Realty One has One Design in there. And through One Design, you can actually, they have pretty good postcards that you can do, and you can mail them out through there. There's the secondary, I don't think it's called One Mailer, but there's something that it connects to that allows you to mail them out, and it will pick those addresses for you. So it can radius do it, and it's pretty affordable. So I would recommend going through and looking at One Design.
Yeah, I definitely will take a look at that. I actually had it on my scope. I recently moved to Realty One Group, and I'm still trying to figure out all the amazing tools that they have. And so I did catch that, and I will go and take a look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you maybe Abby will make a note for me. I'll try to reach out to you afterwards, because I do have a recorded training on how to do that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So most brokerages have a system that allows you to do that. Realty One has the One Design that you can design the postcards, send them out. KW has it through Command. There's Michael Lewis Marketing Suite that I used to have a relationship with that we used to send postcards out through. So there's lots of options for that. So if you need some suggestions, feel free to reach out, but always check with your brokerage first. It's usually a little less expensive. Any other questions or thoughts before we move forward? All right. Social media, right? Let's talk social media. I'm sorry if you're anti-social media, you're a real estate agent, you should be on social media, if for nothing else, the purpose of business. Okay. Create those relationships. Mark's smiling right now because he knows I'm on him all the time about this. He's like, I hate real estate, or I hate social media. I'm like, get on social media, Mark. We're having this conversation on a regular basis. So get on social media. It's the best way to get the information out there and to lead generate. Okay, for your listings. Same thing with social media. You want to stand out. So you're going to spin the story of the listing to drive interest and interactions, right? You want to make sure you share that listing on your page. If you have a business page, share it there. Search, like on Facebook, you can search groups so that are housing related, like in the Solano County area, there's Solano County homes for sale. There's Travis Air Force Base homes for rent or sale. There are the what's going on groups, like what's going on in Solano County, what's going on in Vacaville. There are those groups everywhere. Okay, so find all the housing related groups, find all the what's going on groups, share that listing to all those groups. If there's a neighborhood group specific to where your listing is located, share it there. You can actually open up Nextdoor. Most areas have a Nextdoor neighborhood. So that's outside of social media. It's a whole nother different type of social media. It's not Facebook, but it's still social media, but just a different type. Nextdoor, you can advertise that listing on Nextdoor as well. And you can do it, you can post it on there for free. Okay, you can advertise it as well, but right now we don't even have to spend money. We can just get in the habit of posting. In addition to posting locally in your own area, we want to think bigger. Okay, so who is commute distance from this neighborhood? Who might want to move to this neighborhood? They're willing to drive 45 minutes to work every day, so that their money will buy more than where they work, right? For like the Vacaville, Solano County area, which is where most of our business is, that puts us in drive distance from San Francisco and Sacramento. So when I go to post listings, I'm looking for the housing groups in the San Francisco area, the Bay Area, and the housing groups in the Sacramento area so that I can advertise that listing to those people as well. Okay, so just kind of think bigger, think about who you can get that in front of. And again, it's not so much, I mean, it is about getting your listing sold. All these things are going to help you get your listing sold, but you're going to get comments, suggestions, people are going to ask for more information. Those are your leads. Okay, so we want to utilize it to get our listing sold. We also want to utilize it to collect those leads. Okay, you want to share the story as you move through the transaction. So again, you're going to point out how you excelled in each step. What happened when the property went on the market? Did the appraisal come in at value? Were the contingencies removed? Are we cleared to close? Did we close, right? So we can share more story on social media than we might share on postcards because we don't want to send out 20 postcards. If you don't have any current listings, Connie, talk to other agents in your office and share their listings. Okay, other people in your office should be happy to let you share their listings as well. So leverage other people's listings for that lead generation. Okay, but share that story. In addition to posting, you want to make sure to interact with those that interact with your posts. Are people commenting on your post? Are they clicking on the link? If you've got a website that captures people's information, you may want to throw that out there. So if they click on the listing to get more information, they can see a couple photos and then it pops up to capture their details. That's what you want. Or maybe it's a, with the text to code, you can utilize that on social media as well, like text 623 for more information about this listing, right? And now you've captured their phone number so you can call them back. Okay, our goal is to capture their information. You want to message those people, make calls to those people if you can track their phone number down, and you want to dig for more information about what they're looking to buy or sell. Are they a neighbor? right? The goal is to turn these people into your buyer or seller. So you want to get them interacting so that you can build relationship with them. Okay, you don't even have to like ad spend for this. You can just organically get the property information out there. If you don't have a listing, coming back over to what Connie asked in the chat box as well, like a great way to utilize social media for leads. And we'll talk about this a little bit more because we're talking about how to use social media, I think, next week. But one of the other things that you can do is you can be like, hey, would anybody like a list of the open houses this weekend? Send me a message or comment below. Right. And then you can print up a list of all the open houses for the weekend. You can pull it from the MLS for an area. You could ask for, hey, who wants to see, if it's a really hot weekend, maybe it's who wants to see the houses for sale with pools in our area. Or maybe it's snowing right now. So maybe it's who wants to see houses with a covered patio so you can enjoy the outdoors even when it's snowing or raining, right? You guys are raining. So, right. So think of ways to get people's involvement in your posts so that they're going to comment, like, so you can begin interacting with them. All right. For our last piece of marketing, circle dialing is a really effective way to connect with people. Please remember to stay compliant with the TCPA, right? The do not call registry. But getting numbers to getting the numbers to make those phone calls so that you can solidify your name and relationship, right? Because we're probably going to be calling those that we're sending postcards to, those that are seeing our social media posts, those that we knocked on their doors for the open houses. We're just further solidifying that relationship by making those phone calls. And it may be that you're circle dialing to let them know of the open house, maybe that you're circle dialing to let them know that you have a listing coming on the market, right? There's lots of reasons that you could be dialing those phone numbers. If you enlist the help of a service that pulls those phone numbers for you, there's like Land Voice and Mojo and some other ones, they scrub it against the do not call list. So you don't have to worry about being in violation of that. But if you're pulling the phone numbers yourself, just make sure you're not in violation. You want to scrub it against the national do not call list. Okay. If you don't get them on the phone, leave them a voicemail. Okay. Super simple there. You want to earn their business, right? So if you're thinking these people might sell their home, you want to show them that you are working so hard to get this property sold, then you would work just as hard to get their property sold. Any thoughts, questions, ahas when it comes to the marketing machine? All right, moving right along. Oh, so that's the end of the leads from listings. Those are your main methods of generating those leads from listings. But who would like some bonus content today? Anybody? Got more time? It's 9:34. All right, bonus content. I prepared for this. All right, bonus content. Let's talk about how to level up your business. So let's talk about how to show up for your business, report your numbers, work or lead gen to appointments, and add 5. So let's dive into that. First thing, right? You need to show up. Treat this like a business because you are running a multi-million-dollar business. You're not just a realtor, right? Multi-million-dollar business, and you need to work your business that way daily. So it gets really easy to get distracted, right? When you have a job, somebody's telling you when to show up, what time you can leave, when your break is, it's really easy to prioritize those hours for work. But something happens when we become in charge of our own schedule, right? Nobody's telling us what time to be there. It gets really easy to deprioritize the jobs that we should be doing as a real estate agent. Okay, life gets in the way. You realize, oh, I've got to go pick up dry cleaning. Somebody calls you to have lunch and that turns into an all day event. And then you're like, oh my gosh, the lawn, it's overgrown and it needs mowed because it's going to rain later. So I should go mow the lawn real quick, right? Or, oh my gosh, my house is so dirty. Like, how can I even focus with such a dirty house, right? So you need to time block your time and show up for your business. Treat your business like a job. Okay, block your work hours. Protect that time. The lawn can get mowed later. Dry cleaning can get picked up at 5 o'clock. It's going to be okay. Okay. In addition, don't just show up to work, show up and work your business 5 full days a week until you're off the ground and hitting your goals. Okay. So show up for your business. Secondly, you want to report your numbers. Okay. And if you're like, Amy, who am I reporting my numbers to? Report your numbers to yourself. Okay. Or hire a coach, but you can really just report your numbers to yourself. You want to be tracking what you're doing. So you want to track each day. You're going to report out how many signed agreements you got, right? Those would be buyer agreements or listing agreements. You're going to report out how many properties you put in the contract, how many appointments you set, and how many contacts you added to your database. Okay, each and every day. Now, if it were me, when I went to report out, I would also put my wins and losses for the day. What went well and what didn't go well. Right? Because now I know if I'm looking back at my reporting over the last month, and I can see that, gosh, this week I didn't put anything in the contract. I can go back to last week and be like, what went well, what didn't went well? Oh, look at that. I was really distracted last week. And that probably is the reason that I have no buyers to put in the contract this week or no listings hitting the market, right? You can go back and look if you put your wins and your losses for each day, what worked and what didn't work. Okay. This also, by getting in the habit of working on a regular basis, getting in the habit of reporting our numbers on a daily basis, when we get to a position in our business where we're going to add somebody, like maybe we're going to add that buyer's agent or that showing assistant, we're already in the habit of reporting out. So we're going to require them to be in the habit of reporting out. And it's not going to be a new skill for us. It's something we've already been practicing so that we can help hold them accountable. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Work 2 appointments. Okay. Everyone's going to tell you, oh, you should lead gen, time block your lead generation. Oh, it skipped the slide. Hold on. There we go. All right. Right. Lead generate, lead generate, lead generate. You should lead generate 3 hours a day. Well, what's the point of lead generating 3 hours a day? Well, the goal of lead generation is to set appointments. So work 2 appointments. Okay, if you attend the business planning clinic, you already have your business plan together, you should know how many appointments that you need set each week in order to hit your goals for the year. If you don't, aim for a goal, or you want to see your business really blown out of the water, aim for a goal of setting 2 appointments per week, having 2 opportunities to sit down with either buyers or sellers on a weekly basis. And if you're like, Amy, what do you mean book to or lead generate to the appointment? Well, you can lead generate for 8 hours on Monday if you want to be done with the rest for it, done with it for the rest of the week, right? You don't have to time block 3 hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I lead gen every day because that's what I do. No, that becomes monotonous. If you know, oh my gosh, all I have to do is set 2 appointments this week and I can be done lead generating, how much energy and enthusiasm do you think you'll have in your lead generation? Right? Probably a lot more, right? If you know, oh my gosh, look, I already got 1 appointment and it's only 10 o'clock on Monday and I only have to book 1 more appointment this week and then I can take my time back. I can go mow that lawn during my lead generation time tomorrow because I'll have free time. Do it. I highly recommend lead generating in that way. Okay. It also means that if it's Thursday and we haven't booked any appointments yet for the next week, we've got a long day ahead of us on Thursday or Friday, right? We've really got to hunker down, clear our schedule, and generate to meet that goal of booking those 2 appointments. Okay. You've got to hold yourself accountable to those 2 appointments per week. And know that if we've lead generated hours and hours and we haven't set that appointment, we probably need to step up our script game. So remember I talked about like your accountability partner. I think I talked about that yesterday. Like have an accountability partner that you script practice with. And that way, you know that you're delivering a powerful conversation during that lead gen time that's going to lead to appointments, or that you know how to handle those objections to get to that appointment, so that you can get your lead gen done and get those appointments booked really quickly. Thoughts or questions about that? Work 2 appointments.
No, I'm just having like all kinds of ahas just kind of flying off of that one, because this whole thing, I don't even know what to say. It's just that this is an area I know for me personally, I find myself consistently just like you said, trying to hunker down and figure out what you're doing, because the numbers, knowing your numbers, knowing where you're putting your energy and what your return is one of those challenges that a lot of us don't like, to really focus on, but it is absolutely so critical. And as you were talking about the 2 appointments per week, I found that I have to pretty much work that way too. I don't work very well. I find in being an entrepreneur, period, is finding what works for you when it comes to techniques. I don't work very well with okay, from 1 to 2, I'm doing this, from 5 to 8, I'm doing it. I just found that that doesn't work well for me. So I think in all the things that you just talked about, one of the main goals is trying to figure out how it just relates individually and how, we can structure. But these are all like really on point.
Good, good. Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Connie, to answer your question, showing appointments and new contracts are not appointments. So that would be sitting down with either a new potential seller going on a listing appointment or sitting down with a new potential buyer to get that buyer agreement signed. So the lead generation should lead to those. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some change in methodology of thinking. And sometimes when we have somebody that is a potential buyer, getting them to that first appointment to go look at a house may be our first appointment with them. So if you're showing properties to a new buyer, not somebody we already have a relationship with, we're showing them to a new buyer, that would count as an appointment. Now, keep in mind too that showing property does not replace sitting down with them for a buyer's appointment or a buyer presentation and going over what that process looks like, making sure that everybody's on the same page with that buying process. That is still super important, but sometimes, especially with online leads or cold leads, getting them to a house so that you can get belly to belly with them face to face and build that relationship is going to be important. So normally just regular showing appointments or new contracts would not be unless it's to a new client. You are meeting them at a property. Okay. And bring that buyer rep agreement with you to that property and get them to sign it there on the spot. Okay. So new appointments is what counts. All right. Add 5, right? Each week, add 5 new contacts to your database. If you add 5 people per week, and by contacts, I mean like name, phone number, email address, and mailing address. A complete contact is the goal. If you add 5 people per week based on 4 weeks per month, you are going to blow your database out of the water with new leads. Okay. And I did say 4 weeks per month, and you're gonna be like, Amy, that's only 48 weeks. You're right. It's only 48 weeks because I'm taking into account that 4 weeks of the year, you're not working. You've got vacations, you've got a holiday, you've got the week between Christmas and New Year's, whatever that might be, and you're not working and lead generating. So you might not be adding people to your database. So we only did 4 weeks per month, 48 weeks per year. Okay. That is 240 contacts added to your database for the year. If we add 5 contacts per week, who can add 5 contacts to your database per week? Does that seem tangible to everybody? That's 1 per day. 1 per day. Okay. Have a conversation with somebody at the hardware store, at the grocery store, host an open house, right? Add those 5 contacts per day. Based on our discussion on day 1 at a 4% conversion ratio, right? That's an additional 9 transactions per year by adding 5 people per week. Who wants an additional 9 transactions? Anybody? If we bumped that conversion ratio up to like 8%, right? Michelle's like me. If we bumped it, right, the MREA says that for every person in our database that we're interacting with on a consistent, regular basis, it should result in 1 transaction per 12 contacts. Right, that's almost another 20 transactions instead of 9 if we're working our database like we talked about on Monday and Tuesday. Okay. that brings us to the end of our bonus content for the day. We're back to the end. It's 9:45. We're really done this time. I really appreciate you guys all joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Any other ahas that you want to share with us today, or one thing that you're going to implement in your business? You can throw it in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. Was this helpful? Connie's going to track everything. Absolutely. Connie, if you join us for the business planning clinic too, I have a whole spreadsheet system I'm going to share with you guys. You'll actually get access to the spreadsheet that will allow you, it's set up to track all your lead gen activities, all your business activities. Stephen's going to review goals frequently. Absolutely.
One of my biggest focus, Amy, would be going back to what you stated about looking at what the review. I put that in my business plan this year because that's something I found that I haven't done very effective, is reviewing like what went well and what didn't. And by the time I look up and realize what didn't go well, 4 months didn't pass by. So I didn't catch what really didn't go well. So that's going to be extremely important to me as I go into 2024, is to implement that one.
Perfect. Absolutely. Deanna said that she loved the lead gen to appointment instead of time blocking, right? We're still going to block for that time, but we can give ourselves permission to walk away from that block and do something that we want to do. I used to use it for, I mentioned, I don't know, yesterday, day before, I think it was yesterday that I enjoy horseback riding. I have my own horses. We go riding all the time. But I used to, use that as the incentive to get my appointment set, because I knew that if I got my appointment set on like Monday or Tuesday, then that freed me up the rest of those time blocked hours, which was like 3 hours a day, that I could go ride horses. So that was quite the incentive for me. So whatever that driving force is for you, like give yourself permission to go do that. Maybe it's taking a bath, maybe it's going and getting your nails done, whatever that might be. Like reward yourself for your effort once you get those appointments booked. It also means that you have to hold yourself accountable if you don't get them booked and you don't get to go get your nails done, or the poor horses sit out there staring at you like, why aren't you visiting us this week? Right? So hold yourself accountable. Perfect. Remember, we have no class tomorrow. We'll be covering the farming to grow bigger crops on Tuesday at 9 a.m. We'll be back all week next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It is Christmas on Monday, so I'll give you guys that off. We're going to cover farming to grow bigger crops, social media to expand your reach, events, have fun, grow your database, everyone wins, and take your open houses from open to out of this world. So that's what we're covering next week. Business planning is on the 15th of January.
It shows up the 25th when you first go to it. Just want to let you know.
It's 15th of January. Thank you. I appreciate prayers for my daughter as we go through this next procedure, and I will see you all on Tuesday. Thank you so much again for joining me. I'm having a blast doing this session.
Thank you, Amy.
Absolutely. Thank you.